Hello and welcome to Battlefield 1, Battlefield podcast with real questions and real unfiltered opinions. This podcast is available as an MP3 download so you can listen on the go. If you enjoy this podcast, please like it before you leave. If you don't, you can dislike it, whatever tickles your fancy. If you want to hear more, why not subscribe to the Lanky Soldiers YouTube channel or our dedicated podcast channel. If you have any concerns, questions, comments or consternations, feel free to leave a YouTube comment or contact us on Twitter. Now make yourself comfortable and enjoy the podcast.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, casuals and 100 Connells, and welcome to the BattlefieldOne Podcast, episode 11. I'm a little sick personally, so I'm not gonna lie, but the podcast has to be done. It has to be done. So, yeah, as usual, we have the audio version of the podcast. Feel free to download if you don't have the time to watch all the video, because it's a long video. And we're doing this for you, so just because you can listen to the podcast much easier. And also you can hear our annoying voices anywhere you go. Now, okay, now we're gonna have a lot of interesting discussions today. I mean, there are quite a few, and I have my regular crew here around me, so I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves. Cyanide.
Good evening, morning, whatever your respective time zone is whatever. And just a quick heads up, I'm not going to be here for next week's podcast, so sorry. Going out of town, got some personal stuff to get taken care of. But I will be back again for the following weekend, so don't miss me too much.
Nobody cares.
Of course not. This is fine. Fuck you guys.
Anyway, alright, yeah, so you're not gonna be in next week. Darky True.
Good day.
Dr. Squirrel.
Hey, people.
And Pranito.
Hello, everybody.
Can we just
No.
rename it Pranito 420?
Now we have to ask the important question.
Are you high?
Yeah.
You know, I think from now on we need to just kind of like draw up like some WWE type intros for everybody, and just Pronatos will just drop like a whole like Call of Duty montage type shit for him. Just smoke weed every day. Drop the beers!
I just want to
Yeah.
rename him Pronato 420.
Yeah, actually, like today I played on a Dev only server, and I could like really up my skill because like the point per minutes were insane. And when I was done, I had 420 skill.
420.
That just,
Nice.
that just was so fucking like, oh shit.
Well,
Just
at least you...
Stop
wait.
playing right now.
Wait, what the time right? It's an hour for you right now, so that's good. Okay, so we got an hour, so you can go to bed at 4:20.
Yeah, about.
Alright, right, okay, let's move on with some Battlefield stuff, because nobody cares what we do on our free time.
Yeah.
No, but nobody cares about our personal.
Nobody cares about
personal
that.
stuff.
Well,
Nobody
you should
wants to hear that
care.
crap.
I should care. I care about you guys, so... Anyway, right, community map. A lot of optimization and polishing is happening right now. So like we said last week, the community map is in alpha stage. So basically right now, there's no new features being added to the community map. Now it's about polishing and just fixing all the bugs and all of that. A lot of game modes were being redesigned or being polished, including Capture the Flag, Chain Link, and Rush, especially Rush. Rush got an extra MCOM, well, the way you want to say, like it's another wave or another 2 extra MCOMs.
We got another pair of MCOMs.
Yeah, another pair of MCOMs, let's say it that way. It's an improvement, I'm not gonna lie. From the first look, it looks like a massive improvement from the previous we had, from the previous layout, so that's good. I checked the capture.
You know,
Okay, go on.
thank you.
Yeah?
They did add one thing to the community map.
Oh, the picker weapon. The picker weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, I was going till then. Okay, well, all right. Just gonna finish on the game modes. All right. I checked the capture the flag. Legendary Carmine. Anyway, Andrew. His name is Andrew. He fixed the spawn points. Remember when we said like it has like on the capture the flag it has like diagonal. I can't speak normally. It has like weird spawn locations like that. Remember, guys? Yeah. So now you spawn around the flag in a random location, but not like somewhere in the distance, but you're just around the flag, but in a different location. You can be like spawn on the north, you can spawn on the south, or whatever. I think it's, well, I tried it. It looks better in my opinion, but that's capture the flag. So I think it's an improvement. Chainlink, haven't seen any new changes to Chainlink, and that's regarding the game modes. Okay, now there's a new pickup weapon. So do you want to talk about it, Squirrel?
Well, would
If
I
you love it.
ever?
Well, I don't know. I don't really care personally. I pick a weapon. Okay, that's cool. I don't care.
Well, I thought it was really cool anyway. I was playing on the community map the other day, and I walked over by where they moved the crashed helicopter, and I saw the battle pickup icon, went over there, and they added the M60 UTL, I believe. And what it essentially is an M60 that you cannot aim down sights with, and it shoots explosive rounds. So, like, if you shoot at your feet, you'll get splash damage. And from what I played with it a little bit on with the very few people I had on the server, but when I played with it, I thought it worked pretty well. I mean, you can damage light vehicles and buildings and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a pretty cool battle pickup. And just to kind of, as the cherry on top to make it cooler, they added a little Bad Company logo, like the grenade. So I thought that was pretty cool.
The grenade with the smiley face.
Yep.
And it's also noted that you cannot ADS while you're running around carrying this thing. You can only hip fire with it, period, point blank, end of story.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I must not have heard it. Excuse me.
What are you doing anyway right now? You just sitting here and listening to us, or you're playing something?
Oh, I'm listening. It's just hard to know. Anyway.
He's already focusing on what he's going to be doing when he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am kind of been in a little bit of vacation mode the last couple of days, especially. So sue me. I mean, it happens, especially when you only have a 2-day work week ahead of you next week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. So, as you already know, vehicle pass is happening in CT. There's a lot of changes. They're gonna come in the autumn patch, and they're now happening in CT. Some I agree with, some I don't. All right, but we're gonna start with the obvious one. Stingers go above. Stingers and Eagles, they go above. So previously, it required 3 Stingers or missiles to kill a heli. Now it requires 2. So basically, that's what was it, 55 damage, I think.
Yeah.
Is it 55 or something, or like in the 50s? 55. So basically, it requires 2 missiles to kill a jet, or not jet, a heli. Well, it actually goes to the jet too. So yeah, and with that, before people's gonna start complaining that they are actually buffing the Stingers, I have to remember countermeasures are being buffed too. The cooldown is being reduced, so you can, don't spam them, but use them more often. So, again, I don't really fly air vehicles that much. So, what do you guys think about it?
Well, the flares and the ECM do their jobs pretty well against the buffed anti-air missiles, but the problem I found was still the extinguisher. I mean, it was pretty useless before because the redeploy time was insanely high for what it did. Though, I mean, I think they basically changed it because, as far as I know, in retail it does only help you when you're disabled. But now it removes the mobility hits. But I think
I actually
it
forgot about
doesn't
that, yeah.
remove disabled. This is something I would like to see back. As well, added that the Stingers should have 45 damage. So like 2 hits would disable you.
But not kill you.
Yeah, and what basically would make the extinguisher then viable again is that you have 3 missiles as well that you can take. Because the other CMs you can deflect 1 missiles, but with the extinguisher you can't. So 1 shoots a missile, 55 down. You can pull the extinguisher, but then you have to be fast before the second missile comes and just wrecks you.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's not enough time.
Yeah, I never used the extinguisher like ever, and I still don't want to use it because
Yeah, I just tested it, and sometimes
flares
involuntarily when I forget to switch it back. So
flares and ACM do the job for me personally. I think it's doing the same thing for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, because, but yeah, I think we see a trend what is going on. Because the straw got, well, I won't say a nerf. It got like a mixed bag of everything. I mean, the straw is going back, and I know Dark, we're gonna talk about your thing. Just going to about the countermeasures and thing. Regarding the straw, because the straw has the same speed that was before the spring patch or the summer patch. I can't remember.
It's spring patch where it was
spring patch.
nerfed.
Yeah, it had. So it's back to the handling that was before the spring patch, and everyone complained they ruined it.
The whole
Yeah.
handling.
Yeah, the whole handling thing. You can
Really?
control the string or another string. The
Yeah,
straw much better.
Yeah,
You
of
can hear the
course.
hell.
But I
yeah,
mean, but I mean, did they revert it or did they just buff it to like
Mm,
something close
No.
to?
I think they just went back to the same one that was before the spring
Okay.
patch, and what they did also, you can't kill helis or jets or air vehicles in general with one missile. So basically, if you hit a heli, it's gonna be a mobility hit or something like that. It's not gonna kill it like RPG or small does. And people complain about that. So
I think people are gonna complain any way that you go about changing it.
well, the way I see it, okay, or I'm just gonna say this. The way I see it, straw was never designed to be an anti-air launcher, so it makes sense in my eyes.
And the one thing
Yeah.
I just want to kind of say is like there's a lot of people who make the argument that oh well the straw requires like a lot of skill to use or whatever. Well, the straw allows you to correct your mistakes in aiming. Whereas like the RPG or the SMA, they don't. I think if you want to like if you're going to talk about skill, I mean, you should be using an RPG or like the SMA because those once you shoot them, you can't change where it's going to go.
Yeah, but I mean,
Another thing about the straw is for sure too that you can correct the angle you shoot at a target. So basically, if you have a 45 degree on angle, you can shoot a slight bow and get closer to a 90-degree impact.
Oh, you mean like for like
Yeah,
trying
tanks.
to hit from the top? and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
then you get
not
that
only
damage multiplier.
that, but I mean especially like from the side.
Yeah.
You want to hit the tank from the side or from behind, and if the angle is not optimal, with an RPG or SMA, you can just shoot at it and just take it. I mean, with the RPG, the damage makes me happy enough anyway. But I mean, with the straw, you can correct the impact angle with like not shooting directly at the tank, or basically just make a little bow and then come rather from 90-degree.
You can also shoot around obstacles and shoot over walls and stuff with it too.
Yeah.
Pop it up into the air and let it fly for a minute, and then you just get a good beat on what you're actually aiming at and get it pretty much like you said, get a good top-down shot on it.
Yeah.
All right, Dark, what do you want to say? Because I remember you want to say something
about the helicopters. There's been a change in CTE recently, which is that small arms fire, like, I don't know, if you want to shoot a pilot out of a helicopter with an LMG, you can't do it anymore because the windshield blocks the bullets. And people have been getting quite upset about that on the Reddit, and they're like saying that they should be allowed to do that, and that they think that that's a good gameplay element. And James, I know him as James Kono or whatever, Undead Pixels, the gameplay designer. He was talking about that in like one of the Skype chats that I have with him, and basically there's totally like a room. There's room for discussion over like whether people should be allowed to shoot through that windscreen with bullets. He personally feels like that shouldn't be a thing, but that's not why it's happening. It's not happening because he doesn't want people to do that. I mean, if the choice is up to him, he might choose the same thing anyway. But the reason it's being done is because, like, with the current system in Frostbite 3, he can only choose between like a windscreen that lets both cannon fire from another helicopter in and small arms fire, or a windscreen that will stop cannon fire, stop small arms fire, but will allow sniper rifle fire through. So the choices that are available to him are severely limited. He can't just turn on and off the types of bullets that he wants. And he was saying to me that everything that he's done to try and change this system normally ends up in disaster. So it's either you use the options that are available to you, or you might end up causing more problems than you fix. So the reason there is this, they have to make this choice between either stopping cannons from killing the pilot from another helicopter or allowing people to shoot through the windscreen. And they can't really choose any middle ground between that. So he wants to choose the option where cannons can't shoot through the windscreen, because that then allows him to properly balance helicopters. Because as long as those helicopter cannons can go through that windscreen, he can't do proper vehicle balancing, because the vehicle balancing, the time that it takes to kill a helicopter, would be defined by like the helicopter's health, but also how easy it is to kill infantry, because when you're shooting through the windscreen, you're effectively shooting at an infantry guy who's sitting inside the chopper. So that's why it's done.
Can I ask just one thing about that real quick, though? Because there's one thing amongst a lot of the other choppers. If you look at a lot of the scout choppers, the Little Bird is the only one that has an open cabin on the left and right side. How is that going to be balanced against the other two scout choppers that are completely enclosed cabin? You're going to leave a whole entire side hole open if you allow. Well, I mean, the argument there too is, I mean, there's the small windscreen on the front too, but then again, the Little Bird is always at the worst advantage, suffering that period point blank, as the pilot is the most exposed in that. But you got to consider that whole open side there, so anybody you can get a good strafe on there could still shoot the pilot out just as easily.
Now, wait. No, you said that was the Little Bird that has that, right?
Yes.
Little Bird, when you're in the Little Bird, you're more exposed. I thought I read somewhere that they were kind of doing this. They were fine with that because it would kind of balance out the difference in size between the Z11 and the Little Bird. Because, like, every scout pilot knows that the Little Bird is far superior to the Z11, and like this could maybe give him, like, the Z11 reason to be used, or somewhat more of a reason to be used.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
alternatively,
you
they
can
just put
shoot
doors
out
on the damn Little
the
Bird to call it a
C11,
day.
but you need to find a really nice angle from like 45 degrees behind the pilot.
Yeah,
then you
it's
can
a lot
like
harder.
shoot like diagonally to the cockpit on the pilot.
Well, I mean, it'll be a lot harder.
when
too.
they were testing this, and like this was what Dork was saying, when they were testing this in Dragon Valley, they were essentially testing the sniper rifle goes through material for the windows, and it didn't do the job. You were still able to blast someone out, as far as I know. But yeah, and there you could really shoot out the scout pilot when he was like flying low.
Oh, I've capped him out many a times with just using a Magnum.
Yeah, of course you could use Magnum, but like with the assault rifle and the scout pilot you're on the tempo, and the scout pilot is like circling above you, and then you just like go on the right angle, and then from the side, and you just throw a burst in there.
Well, that's kind of like the funny thing is every time like there was always this like a Little Bird. I know it was a Little Bird that was coming after me. Like I knew that if I was able to unload at that cabin, like there was a possibility I'd be able to knock the pilot out. But since the argument is that everyone just said like the scout, like the Little Bird is so OP, then like the pilot being so exposed, I could argue is like the balance, the balance for that chopper.
Exactly.
Just leave it alone. Like
And
Well, I mean, as I say, this isn't necessarily being done because the game designers just decided, screw you guys, I want to block all your bullets.
No, and I'm not saying that either. I mean, it's just still one of those things. It's like, I mean, I get the argument that it needs to be balanced. But I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Even though it was at the bottom of the notes, but yeah.
Well, I mean, similar. It's similar to what Dark is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
in that it's like relating to helicopters and like all transports, in fact, even like the rib boat and stuff like that. Now you aren't going to be able to use launchers while being in the like passenger seat. So like on the scout helicopter, you cannot use like the man pads or RPGs or straws when you are sitting on the side. And I mean, I saw James, one of the developers, in the BFXP chat, and I asked him, "Is this something that is like per weapon based, like you enable it per weapon?" And he said yes. So that means that what they could do if they want is make it so that only, say, like man pads are not allowed to be used while in that seat, and then you'd still be able to use like the RPG and the other rocket launchers.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, like blocking the rocket launchers is a bit absurd because you're not just blocking them for, say, shooting them out of the side of a scout helicopter, and there's still plenty of room for debate on whether you should be blocking RPGs from being shot out of the side of helicopters or whatever.
Well, I mean,
But-
I think the biggest issue people had was when like you'd get two people in like a scout helicopter like repairing, and then they have a like a Stinger too or a Igla, and then you have the pilot with laser guided or something like that, and then maybe one other guy as a recon.
yeah,
Just-
but I
Yeah,
mean,
but that's a
stacking
shining
it.
example of teamwork too.
no,
Well,
I-
true, but then I mean, if you have they have the two man pads in there, and that just seems like it gets really OP. I mean, I would be fine if they just had like if they allowed you to have RPGs and stuff. I think they
Wait.
should, but I don't know if they like. From what I understand, I thought the reason that they got rid of it, or got rid of launchers in like the Scout helicopter, and because of the way it works, all other transports, was because they didn't want like that OP-ness or whatever. Where it was like just too OP.
yeah, but I mean, here's the thing: they can block man pads separately.
And that's what I thought they
So
should do.
if they say they can do that, then that's what they should do. Because I mean, I've not necessarily got that much of an issue if you can't use a man pads out of the back of. I mean, you won't be able to use it out of the side of helicopters. You won't be able to use it on the passenger seats of rib boats, but they've got a minigun anyway. You won't be able to use it on the back of an attack boat, but you know they can have anti-air kind of weaponry. You know, I like that's fine. That's man pads aren't an issue, but if you're going to take away RPGs from the helicopters, you're also taking it away from the back of, say, a quad bike. You're taking it away from the passenger seat on a Jeep. All the transport, like passenger seats, you know, apparently it's going to be gone from them all. And if you take away the repair tool, can you repair a boat from the passenger seat, like an attack boat?
Yeah, you
That's
still
a
can,
huge
apparently.
part.
You still can.
That's probably why they didn't even do this in the first
Yeah, that
place.
That would be. I wonder now. That just opens
would
up a
be
whole new
just-
thing.
Can you
Because, like-
use the repair tool in the helicopter still, or is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, you can. You still can.
I
Yeah.
You still
wonder
can.
because I was talking with James,
I
and he
think-
said it was like per like weapon or gadget or whatever. Like there's like a little checkbox or whatever, simplistically anyway, where you click it and it'll be like, okay, you can use it in the transport vehicle passenger seat, or you cannot use it in passenger seat.
Yeah, it's a simple 1 or a 0 on a weapon parameter somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to James, like, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm sitting in a helicopter and we go up against another scout helicopter and my helicopter just gets blown out of the sky instantly with one carefully aimed RPG shot out of the passenger seat, I'm not thinking, oh, DICE, what the heck are you doing? This is a terrible game. I'm thinking, good game. That was a well-placed shot.
Yeah, good on him for getting a
I'm
shot
pretty-
like
yeah,
that.
I'm like, you know, I'd be like, whoa, that was, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it is slightly frustrating, but you don't think, you know, it's DICE's problem. You're like, damn,
Alright,
that was
this
good.
This how I see it. Partially, I kind of agree with the change, kind of, but at the same time, I disagree. All right, the reason I disagree because
Can't do both.
No, I'm neutral. I'm neutral on this because hear
I
me
would
out.
say more torn than anything else, but anyway.
Okay, just hear me out. I kind of agree that you can't use launchers on Helis, but because it's Frostbite on engine and it has some sort of limitations, you have to recode something, and basically affects all the transport vehicles, which is quads. You can't use RPGs on the quad, which is really bullshit for me personally. Ribboats, also bullshit. I think you should be able to use RPGs and all of that when you're on the ribboat and the passenger seat. I think you should be able to use it. With Helis, I can understand why you couldn't use one. Fair enough. I agree with that. But I don't agree with other transport vehicles. But in this case, I would suggest, all right, if you really want to limit that, what about you just can only shoot once? You can't resupply until you actually exit the heli.
Well, that would require an entirely new mechanic, so...
Well, that's the
doubt it.
problem.
Yeah,
The only other way
that
around
was-
that would be to limit or remove the ability in order to stick ammo crates to the helicopters so that they wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
resupply it. But then that would probably require another fundamental change to the ammo bags, and they probably wouldn't stick
Yeah.
to the regular geometry in the game, so
And-
it would break the ammo boxes.
If you're a good player, you fly as a support and have indirect fire, and then you resupply when you fly the vehicle, when you fly the chopper.
That's
I
true.
mean, I don't want to say
Resupply
anything.
your crew.
I don't want to say anything on anybody who thought of this change, but it kind of feels like with this change, it seems like there's a really overpowering tactic that's being used in one regard. So now every other vehicle that can employ this tactic of teamwork is being punished for it, whereas opposed to, I don't know, it's kind of you're nerfing teamwork on this one. It's just how it feels to me. It's like, if you're working as a team and you're flying on the side of a helicopter, yeah, you can argue that you're working as a team repairing and stuff. But on rib boats, if you're running around between an objective and you have an engineer on that boat and you happen to run into another boat, a bigger boat, you can RPG that boat. Because the minigun is going to fire on it, and then you still have the ability to sink an RPG into it. In a Jeep, sitting on the side of a Jeep, same thing with a tank. You'd be able to put an RPG round into it in order to be able to damage it. Another tank finishes the job off. You're helping.
Yeah, and not even
Even on the
that,
back
you
of
can get-
a
you make a mobility
ATV.
hit for,
Yeah.
and you make a mobility and can get away.
Well, one thing I just want to say is, like, when I was talking with James again, I think someone asked him, like, why, like, all the launchers were made, like, so you couldn't use any of them. And I think he said just for, like, consistency or whatever right now. So, I mean, it's all
he
subject
did.
to change.
Yeah, I
but-
don't.
I
I
do
think.
remember
I
the
mean,
chat was
here's the
reading.
thing. I did say to James about the fact that I didn't think that people would blame DICE if they got shot out of the air with an RPG in a helicopter, and he said something along the lines of, "Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I feel like this is an issue where we could see change, but get mad, just get mad about it. I mean, James changes his mind sometimes." Not all times, but sometimes.
Yeah, this is something I would legit seriously voice your opinion on, because I'm more or less against this than anything else. I'm not. It's not even something that I use that often. It's just the basic principle of the matter. It just feels like a big form of teamwork is being taken out by that.
I mean-
yeah, that's why I'm really neutral about this. I mean, I can understand why it could be OP, but at the same time, teamwork is OP. So I'm really neutral on this. I have no idea. I kind of agree, but I don't disagree. I mean, it's a
How
mixed bag
often-
for me personally.
How often do you get shot out of the air when you're sitting in a helicopter from another helicopter?
That's the other thing, is how often it happens.
yeah. I do get shot from the helicopter if I'm on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, you
Well,
like,
with
it can be
RPG.
effective
Let
on the
me
ground.
ask this kind of similar. It's kind of on the same topic or whatever. In Battlefield 3, they used to have it where there was the co-pilot would have, like, the laser designator, and the pilot could equip laser-guided missile. And then what would eventually happen is you'd get a pilot playing with his buddy, and his buddy would be sitting in the co-pilot seat lasing the other helicopter for the pilot, and the pilot would be able to one-hit kill the other chopper. I mean, that's
Yeah, I
OP.
don't like that.
And
I don't like that.
but it's teamwork, though. I mean,
Yeah, but so what? Teamwork isn't an excuse to be OP. The way I see it, you should balance the game so that you shouldn't balance the game so that you OP means. I mean, teamwork means you become OP. It should be balanced so that teamwork is required to get the win, but it should still work in a balanced, fair fashion. And I don't think you should penalize the other helicopter guy for not having a guy sitting in his seat with an instant death. It's too black and white, in my opinion. So
yeah, I just wanted to like bring that up because that kind of, when you were talking about like teamwork and stuff, that kind of popped into my mind as something similar.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think it's great we don't have laser designate. I mean, okay, for example, you still can use your laser designate. You can use this, not the soft flame. Is it the soft flame?
Oh, the PLD.
PLD. Here we go. Thank you. You still can use the PLD, so you still can do some damage in a heli if you use a PLD. I guess I don't know. It's
not as good.
Yeah, it's pretty viable. Like if you have as the pilot, if you have laser guided missile.
Yeah, if the pilot is competent enough and he has a laser guide, that could work. I can imagine, but at the same time, you're on the side, so you.
It's taking up like a spot that otherwise
yeah.
would be used by somebody who would be repairing.
Yeah.
I kind of get the feeling that combination in Battlefield 3 wasn't necessarily by design.
Maybe.
I think that they thought, let's give a lock-on rocket to the pilot, and then separately they thought, let's make it so that once you've got enough points, you can use the other seat to like laze targets for ground forces. But the problem is that all the lock-on weapons practically like do the whole top-down attack once you've got like a laser lock. Like I think all the lock-on weapons that work on ground vehicles are effectively work exactly the same way in that game. So
yeah, and basically, if you have somebody locking for you, you don't need stingers.
Yeah,
basically. All right, I think we have to move on.
We do.
Right, so this is something I really care about because it involves tanks. Whoever knows me really well, tank is love, tank is life. Let me say it that way.
Tank will always save your life.
Oh yeah, without tanks, you're shit. But anyway, right. So the tank speed, all the tanks got a speed increase, except the Abrams. Abrams got acceleration improved because it was quite slow when you actually just press W or whatever you button you're using or controller. So basically, right now, Abrams became one of the fastest tanks in the game, and originally was one of the slowest ones. So Abrams had 53 kilometers an hour speed, and now it's 62. The T-90, which is the Russian one, had 54 kilometers an hour speed, and now it's 57. And the Type 99, which is the Chinese one, had 54 kilometers an hour speed, and now it has a 60. So basically, the tanks became much faster in speed. So as a tank driver, I'm saying it's a good thing, but there has to be a good reason why they did that, right?
I'm still confused by these patch notes, but whatever.
Well, does part of it have to do, like, they made the Abrams the fastest one, right?
Yeah, it was the slowest one, and now it's the fastest one.
Yeah, they completely 180 the Abrams on that aspect.
Well, wasn't the Abrams like doesn't it have the kind of the same issue, like the Z11 is worse compared to the other scout helicopter, the AH-6? Isn't the Abrams kind of viewed in the same way by tank drivers?
Well, because it's the biggest.
Like the biggest, and then like I think if you go like in reverse, like facing reverse, isn't there like something where you can't put the
there's
turret?
a really bad flaw in the Abrams tank itself design where you can't turret down at the rear as much as you can in the front, and we actually figured out what a lot of the disadvantages and advantages were between the tanks. And I think we also found out that the Abrams takes the most damage at the rear end. Don't 100% quote me on that one, but I think that's what we also found too. So
I
maybe the
mean-
top speed increase would explain that, because it was found that the Abrams was supposedly this much of a weak tank when it shouldn't have been.
So I mean, I feel like it's kind of like doing with the same thing with the helicopters and the windscreens. It's kind of trying to balance around those asymmetries.
But it still
Yes.
kind of begs the question why all tanks got faster. I mean, if the Abrams had like a disadvantage, then sure, buff the Abrams to give it a disadvantage, an advantage that evens out the disadvantages. But they've all got faster.
I think that also could help about I think the explanation for that one would be just sheer deployment time and how long it's going to take in order to get from the base to where you need to go. I mean, it's
Is it really
notably it's a notable like decrease in time. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, there are other issues it
There sh-
causes.
there's-
I mean, you buff the
There should be
buff,
other factors
you
because
buff the acceleration, which means it's easier. It's going to be easier. Like when you're
only for the
trying to be
Abrams,
but when you're trying to be the engineer, like shooting a tank and then running behind cover, now the tank accelerates faster and its top speed is faster, so it can move around cover even faster. And you shoot it high behind cover, and then it
well,
just moves
I
to a
think
different.
they got nerfed.
The thing
a
is,
bit.
we have to like test that before we can
Oh, yeah,
make
yeah,
a
yeah.
judgment.
Yeah,
And that's why you
Don't-
play CTE.
I
don't
just wonder
forget
why.
about the other change to vehicles.
yeah,
Probably
okay,
not
smoke screen. Here we go. The smoke screen.
Oh yeah, that too.
Okay, here's the thing. I never use smoke screen. Yeah, as soon as they actually buffed the smoke screen in CTE, so basically at the beginning when they buffed it, it was a big wall of smoke. So basically, it generates that massive puff of smoke, and it generates the same smoke for 7 seconds. Was it 7 seconds or 5 seconds? Either way, it was generating that massive cloud of smoke. And you could actually cover all the objective like that. I mean, and it also unspots your friendlies if they are spotted, including your tank. What they did now is generates that big pile of smoke with that puff, but after that, instead of doing the same size of smoke that generates for 5 seconds, after that it generates really small smoke puffs. It looks like you're actually farting, basically.
No, I just ripped the bong in that LAV.
Yeah, it's basically it generates those little puff smokes here that don't really do anything, to be honest.
Do the little puffs are they constantly put out, or is it like
Constantly, yeah.
Yeah.
They just
Okay.
generate the
so
same
it's,
way
it's
as
more like a continuous little stream of smoke? I
yeah.
suppose.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it first is the large one and then the small ones coming out, and while before that it was large one every time.
I think it was a little bit smaller, but like it was more like a
Well, here's the
smoke
thing.
grenade
You were able-
size.
You were able to cover all the objective with that smoke.
Yeah.
And it actually made sense to use smokescreen because it's a perfect defensive item. Now you don't have that. You generate a little smoke, and what's the reason for that? Wait, well, I want to talk. Yeah, it's still on spots. It's still on spots. Oh yeah, here's the reason why they want to do this. The reason they nerfed it that bad, well, they nerfed it that bad, is because it doesn't really justify to use zoom. If you have zoom and using smoke, you can't really use zoom because the smoke generates, well, it's a big massive cloud. And in my opinion, that doesn't make sense. If you're using smoke and it generate a big massive wall of smoke, you should be using different scopes instead of
Yeah, that's
zoom.
pretty much your own
Well-
punishment for using that attachment in the first place. I mean, you can't exactly throw. What's next? Are we gonna have smoke grenades in an infantry nerf now because I can't throw a smoke grenade down in my corner and see through my ACOG? Get real. Like, why? It's not exactly a sound reason to me.
It doesn't make sense in my books just to make the zoom more viable just because it doesn't work with smoke.
What also happened, and you have to regard this maybe, is that the thermal camo now actually really like it covers your heat signature to some extent, and if you use it in combination with the smoke, you really disappear pretty well.
I think
Yeah,
the
but
reason.
that was before that. That was
Yeah, but I think
No, I recently
Listen.
had this on the
All right, go on.
test server.
I
I
think
ran
the
into
reasoning the reasoning isn't that they're saying that you. Here's the deal: like if you continue to put out puffs of smoke that are larger than your tank, then I would assume that since it means putting smoke in front of you, because the smoke puff it fills the entire tank, it covers the entire thing. Well, that means visually, without any sort of FLIR scope or whatever, you can't see a thing because there's just smoke everywhere. So it's not that it's an issue to zoom scopes; it's an issue to any sort of normal visual range scope. And so what you would then have to do is when you use that smoke, it's not that you can't use zoom smoke, it's that you have to use FLIR smoke, FLIR screen. Am I saying smoke? Damn it. But yeah, it's not that you can't use the zoom scope, it's that you have to use the FLIR scope so that you can just see. So basically the reason they're doing it is so that you can actually use smoke screen while also seeing things in the visual spectrum as opposed to the IR spectrum.
Well, here's the thing, you still can... Who says you can't just press the smoke screen, the countermeasures, and just go forward? Because as soon as you go forward, the smoke is behind you. So you can move and generate that smoke.
If you
generate in one place,
If you're constantly generating a puff of smoke that is bigger than you, just constantly, then it doesn't matter where you go, it's always generating around you. So you have to keep moving forward. That destroys the whole point of smoke because then you'll always be visible.
Smoke screen is there to get away. Smoke screen. Don't forget, smoke screen is there to get away.
Yeah, it
unspots you, and then you run away, and then you attack from a new angle.
Well, no. You can also use it as an offensive tactic. You can take and you can lay down smoke as you're pulling up forward, fire a couple shots off, and when they spot you, back through the smoke screen that you laid out.
Not with the one that there is now. That was the one before. It was Lanky talking about. That was the big smoke screen, and it was really viable, especially if you're getting heat from infantry. Because vehicle usually use some sort of night vision, so it doesn't use much. But infantry, they don't have night visions. Maybe on guns, but what does that use to them? So you puff the smoke against infantry, they get completely disorientated, don't see shit, while you can shoot through it with the flare.
Well,
but
at this point,
against vehicles, you need to deploy the smoke and then like drive somewhere around the corner and like come from behind.
Well, like I said, personally, I don't agree with this change. I really don't agree with this change because it makes no difference to the one you have right now in retail. It doesn't. It really doesn't. So, I mean, Mars said, the DICE developer, they could reduce, like, just because you smoke, you actually did like damage reduction. Remove the damage reduction then. If that's the case, remove the damage reduction, and keep the smoke.
No, but that...
Yeah, the damage...
Wait, there's a damage reduction for using smokescreen?
Actually,
yeah.
What?
You get that.
It means you always get
still
like,
in, and it's
because of the disorientation from the missile lock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, not even that. Lock-on missiles are, as far as I know, not so far affected. What happens is that if you shoot an RPG at a 90-degree angle, it counts as minimum angle.
It doesn't make sense.
And this doesn't make
it doesn't make
sense whatsoever to me, honestly.
Yeah, remove the damage reduction. Remove the damage reduction. You take the normal damage as soon as you use the smoke, but generate that massive wall of smoke that you can actually defend yourself from the jets and the enemy tank.
They aren't nerfing it to make it less effective. They're nerfing it to make it so that zoom optics is more attractive, because I mean the issue right now is that thermal scope.
You know what they need to do with the smoke?
Here's the thing: it's a defensive item, and you want to equip it with an offensive item. That you need to look in the distance.
Zoom scope is offensive. What?
Why? All right. Here's the thing: why do you want to use zoom up close?
Well, you don't, but that they still want people to use the zoom scope, because the issue that it got right now is that it's, from my perspective, it is still far more effective to have that thermal scope, because it just lights up all
it will always. What does that have to do with the smoke? Like the smoke
really the only time
the smoke is such a small part of what the zoom optic. I mean, doesn't really have that much to do with the smoke.
They're trying
to think why people use flare over zoom.
If the situation is making it so that people don't use zoom scopes, then the right course of action isn't to make the situation worse.
Well, here's the thing. I drive tanks. I'm telling you right now. Zoom is only for long range engagements, and if you're really aggressive, if you want to push up, this is when you use Zoom. Flare or something like that, you use it for close quarters because you actually need to know where your enemy is, and
You
you
want to
can
be able
around.
to distinguish the infantry and the
Yeah.
vehicles from your terrain in an instant more quicker than you can with Zoom. And even in most cases, most times, tanks that I've ever seen that have Zoom equipped, they have APS equipped because if they're being fired at from a long-range missile, you can time your APS rate and just go, haha, watch, poof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
see
don't
that.
really
I see that.
understand this. They're trying to make making a bad combination work. They're trying to force that to work,
Yeah.
and it really just should not be done. Just leave it alone and do like what was been said. Remove that stupid the damage reduction, and then just let a decent cloud of smoke go out, and then just players understand that you're generating a huge cloud of smoke. You're not
Yeah,
going to be able to
and
see through it with regular
make-
optics. It's smoke, for crying out loud. It's not steam.
It's no different from
or
it's no
air.
different from normal smoke. It's no different from normal smoke. It is. Okay, here's the thing. Let's say
you
all right.
can
Let's say
see through it, can you?
oh yeah.
Yeah, but no, even if you're
With the
driving
flare.
in,
But
Yeah.
you can see through it with flare.
Yeah,
thing
you can
is,
with
in
your own-
reality-
This is where thermal camo should come in. Then thermal camo, this is
Exactly,
an idiot.
exactly.
This is from Gerta Blulu. Like he's been advocating something like this and testing that, and he was pretty happy when this it's now in the CTE, so he's pretty happy about that. And yeah, and it should really cover you in the smoke, but like this should be the combination. You can use the smoke, and with thermal camo, you're practically invisible. Even if the guy outside has the flare, he can't really see you, but you can see out because you only have the smoke.
the
Except
issue is,
maybe the other guy uses thermal camo too, then it probably gets also a bit hard to see him. But
The
yeah,
issue is-
probably most distance tank fighters then again use probably APS reactive and the zoom.
the issue is like, I'm pretty sure well, in the real world, when a tank generates smoke, it starts of the stream pouring out of the tank is small, but then it expands. I don't think that's the way it works in the game. I think the puff just sort of what.
I thought in real life what they have, and like there's like you can see them on the tank.
No,
But
that
in real
would be-
life, what they do is they launch like smoke grenades out, and then the smoke grenades all build a smoke screen.
they have two different
the
kinds
tank-
of generators.
Okay,
You've
let's not
got-
talk about real life in general. I mean, because we're going to the realism
Yeah.
area, which is really want to talk about. Well, I'm just gonna say this regarding the smoke, and we can move on to another topic. Tank. I mean, I drive tanks. Okay, now I will be playing Battlefield for tanks. I'm telling you right now from my own experience because I know how to drive a tank. I know how to be good in a tank. Fuck infantry, yeah. I'll drive you a tank like a fucking pro when I'm on my game. When I'm actually focused, I can win you games with a tank. Simple as that. Here's the problem. If I'm really aggressive as a tank driver, I'm quite aggressive, but at the same time I know how to defend. This is the problem, for example, for aggressive player that comes. I'm using the active rate, not active rate, the last one. fucking hell.
APS.
Yeah, APS. Thank you very much. If I'm really aggressive here, smoke screen in that case, the one we had at CT before, the one that there generates a big wall of smoke. For me personally, I would actually consider using it because I'm that aggressive. I can actually use the smoke and push back. Because what happens if I lose my tank is usually not because I lose against another tank. No, it's because I'm outnumbered by like 3 or 4 NGs. That's one of the most of the time I die because I'm too aggressive. Even though I know I'm doing I could be too aggressive. I understand that. But at the same time, I want to fix my mistake because even though I can't fix that. But anyway, smoke screen will give me a chance to fight back against 4 or 5 NGs and a fucking tank that's around the corner. Because that's why I usually die. It's because I'm always getting outnumbered. And smoke screen, if I deploy that smoke wall, I can actually push back and defend myself. So the smoke we have right now in the CT doesn't make any difference for me personally. I'd rather use APS instead and just go back.
I think this might just actually I really just think this might just discourage the use of smoke more a little bit. I mean,
It doesn't change
honestly
anything to me personally. It doesn't change anything. If you ask me, it's a waste of resources if you live in the same thing. You just change a little bit of visual thing. Doesn't make sense in my book. Personally.
Well,
Anyway.
Well, I think we've exhausted this.
yeah, I think we've
particular
dragged
area.
this one
Yeah,
on.
moving on.
So let's move on to another tank thing.
Yeah, another tank. More tank conversations. Fuck yeah. All right. You want to already talk about it?
Well, the new tank shell is now inherent velocity of the tank. Now, meaning when you're moving in a left to right strafing manner and you fire straight at a 90-degree angle off the side of your tank, your shell is now going to angle based on how fast your tank is going. So if you're at a stationary and you fire straight off to your side, it's not going to move to your right. If you're moving at full speed and you fire off to the left, it's going to move forward a little bit more. Much like how you drop JDAMs from attack jets. So if you need any kind of indication on that, just go fly an attack jet with some JDAMs right now. Personally, I've tested it. Either they adjusted it since that YouTube video that broke out where it showed a tank trying to run strafe runs on stationary targets and just could not hit them, apparently putting crosshairs dead on. Personally, either I think it's exaggerated or they just weren't active in that server. But regardless, it should have been in place in day one. But the argument also exists that modern tanks' targeting systems and specifically their targeting viewers inside the vehicles, they automatically account for the inherent speed of the vehicle of the tank. And they adjust the crosshair onto the target accordingly, so it's a lot easier for the gunner in order to target. I'm not 100% on this. I've seen a lot of people that claim that they have been tank gunners before and that their optics do adjust to it. And I feel like that argument kind of just enforces that the old system that's in retail right now, just kind of leave it alone. I personally feel like something like this should be more used for like a World War II game, where you should have to account for that.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I just kind of want to say is, first of all, on the jets, like the actual targeting thing that you use for the JDAMs, it accounts for the speed of the jet.
Yeah, and it gives you a crosshair ahead of time. Yeah.
It accounts for it. So, I mean, it's not the perfect example. But anyway, then I am in favor of the change, but I do think they should make it so that the crosshairs will line up where your bullets are going. And like the main reason I'm for that is just so that like the physics are like can be more consistent, because I feel like there could be other problems or whatever.
I could get behind that, like if that center circular reticle would actually follow a little bit more and be a little bit more accurate, or even if you just have like the second square like your gunner sight in the jet works with, like that shows up and kind of shows you where where your guns are going to go. Something like that would be kind of great too. But I mean, if that kind of can't be figured out, personally, I say just leave it alone and figure it out for the next one. I mean, it's really not honestly. It's not honestly that noticeable if in your normal engagements, because I played quite a bit in Golmud earlier today, and I really didn't notice it. Yeah. I head-on engagement, I backward and forward engagement. I don't usually expose my sides to my enemy that much. You're really not supposed to be doing that in the first place, because you can get tread shots and you get mobility hits on you. So you really should not be doing that. So the only time it's really going to affect anyone is if you happen to be on the run and you see somebody off to the right to your direct side and you're like, I have to fire a shot at them. So lead it a little bit more. If you're moving, like move, I don't know, go like to the next notch on the crosshair.
And I mean, you can use the tracer for LMGs, and like if you're in the LAV for the...
Yeah, there's that too, but you can use that,
You can, with the tracers, I was able to easily correct the aim on like an enemy tank target when I was driving around them. You just watch where the tracer gun go, and I mean, you adjust the cannon the same way. I mean, you just keep that part of the crosshair on the target, basically, as long as you drive that much.
And also encourages players in order to stop and fire a little bit more often. But, I mean, I don't really see a whole lot of run and gun engagements between tanks that often anyway.
Really, people get used to this in a few weeks. It'll be, if they implement it, I feel like people will be able to get used to this pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't think it would be like a really huge, but for the average casual average
Maybe
Joe. Like, yeah, try to figure out that crosshair thing.
Maybe give some ballistic indications on the crosshair, like additionally. Maybe like if they could do this, that would be like really cool.
You mean like how on like sniper scopes they sometimes have like range?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they can make like the crosshair some HUD crosshair that more or less follows, then just give me something that kinda like the T90 as like the scope, like the real T90 scope. But, I mean,
Now wasn't
they don't think they made it like that in Battlefield 4, but in Battlefield 3 you had like the T90 HUD.
Yeah, I was gonna say in Battlefield 3 the HUDs between tanks were different, but I think in Battlefield 4 they're pretty much the same.
Yeah,
like
the same. They are the same.
T90 HUD. Basically, like something like that, where I don't know, you just can have a basic idea of okay, if I go there, you have some reference points you can use.
Well, as a tank driver, I'm saying like I'm gonna say this. I mean, I'm agree with everything that can actually increase the skill gap of the tank driver. I'm up for that. I mean, at this point, I think it's a bit too much in CT because there were moments when I just missed a open target like 10 meters away from me because I moved 5 meters a bit up front, and I missed the target. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I think also the range of what you're trying to shoot at. I think there's kind of like a sweet spot where you're just not going to notice it, and then it's the closer you are, the more you're going to notice it. It's at range. It's just I don't feel it's that noticeable. For some reason, I don't understand it, but it might just be a personal thing. But just like at a longer range, it just doesn't feel like I notice it that much. But like
it should be worse at range. That
it should be.
Sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it.
Well, it should. So
well, yeah, they should.
But it doesn't feel like
what
it.
that's what I was saying. Yeah, up close is. I mean, it shouldn't you affect up close because up close. I mean, you should be able to hit a target up close. If you're aiming like mid range or long, that's why it should affect you.
It couldn't affect you up close. Whatever's affecting up close engagements, it's not this velocity inheritance. I mean, think about it. If you're moving parallel to a target.
Alright, but did you try it?
At full speed.
Did you try it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
We did this earlier. We tried this.
Yeah. I'm saying it's not velocity inheritance because think about it. If you're traveling parallel to the direction you're aiming at full speed, then when you fire that shell, the amount that it's going to miss by is however much you're going to move until that shell hits a target. So if you move 2 meters between the time that it takes your shell to move from where you are to the target, then your shell is also going to move 2 meters because it inherits your velocity. So
as long as you keep going the same speed.
But that's if the velocity of the tank is faster than the velocity of the shell.
Well, no, it doesn't matter because you're moving parallel. So, it doesn't matter about the tank shell velocity. But
that's how from each angle.
If you throw a rock slowly from a fast horse, it's going to deviate a lot faster than if you fire a bullet from a gun.
I said we're moving parallel. We're moving parallel to the target, so when you fire that shell, it's going to deviate more if you're firing at something far away because there's more time for that. There's more time for you to move, and therefore there's more time for your shell to move off target.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So like at range, you have to maybe lead it a little more. But I mean, the thing is, if you're aiming if you're aiming perfectly parallel, you should just have to move however, you'd have to fire however much time it takes before you'd reach their. It'd be a lot better if we had a visual right now. But anyway, I get what you're saying, Dark, but I just don't think it really makes as much of a difference as you're kind of saying.
Well, I'm saying if it works the way it should, which and I'm sure it does because it's very simple, that shell should deviate more the further away it gets. And when you're firing at something that's only like 10 meters away, there's just simply not enough time for it to move any noticeable difference. So if you're having any difficulty, it's got to be down to something else like netcode or something.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying this. Right now, up close. I'm telling from my own experience, from testing and playing in retail and like that, and not testing in CT. Up close is a bit too much. In my opinion, it's a bit too much. No matter how many real life physics you want to put in that, it's a bit too much. Too much. I have to do more math up close than I actually do looking in the distance, which really doesn't really make sense from my point of view. So I want to hit my target up close. If it's close to me and I'm aiming at it point blank, I expect to hit it, no matter what physics or whatever are telling me to do. If it's up close, like in front of my fucking face, I expect to hit it. If it's like in medium range or long range, okay, this is where my math comes in. This is where I actually want to calculate how I'm going to shoot my bloody shell. But if it's up close, point blank, I expect to hit it.
Well, another thing they could do if the velocity of the projectile was made faster, then you would have less of an issue at like range or up close. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go about adjusting this.
All right. Okay.
Well,
anyone wants to add on that? I mean on the tank shell, something like that.
I think that's good.
Okay. Just before we have two little small topics, and this one is I just want to ask because people are complaining about that, and I think we have to address this. I mean, it's a legit question because David also had to reply to that. So, do you think all these changes that happen in Battlefield 4 are justifiable? Is it too late to do any changes to Battlefield 4 right now?
Yes, they are justifiable.
I think, yeah, completely justifiable. I mean, first of all, the big thing is Battlefield 2016, whatever it's going to be. I would imagine that it would be using the Frostbite 3 engine. I don't, at this point right now, I don't see any evidence to suggest that they would be going to Frostbite 4 or that they even have Frostbite 4 made. But like, so I think it's going to be in Frostbite 3. So I mean, how different will the game be?
I think they're just now finally getting Need for Speed games out on Frostbite 3.
Yeah.
Because that's always been the trend. The new Frostbite comes out, a Battlefield title's on it, and then Need for Speed games are made on it, and then it's usually like a good 2, if not 3 iterations of Need for Speed at least, and then they move on and make another Frostbite engine, and then that's what debuts the next Battlefield game. So I don't know. I looking at history, it says that maybe the next Battlefield game would be on a new one, but it wouldn't make any sense to me in order to do it. They're working so hard in order to perfect a base game that's Battlefield 4, right?
I mean,
why not just take what works
think,
and just expand on it?
Yeah, I almost think that some of the stuff that they're doing in Battlefield 4 is like trying new things out or working on things, trying different ideas that could potentially be used in Battlefield 5. Because, I mean...
Well, yeah, like the tank shell thing and the chopper stuff. I mean, yeah, a lot of this, one could easily argue that it's just being tested in CTE for later on down the line or for something like that. And maybe that's what the whole thing with the tank shells right now is being tested in CTE right now. Is it maybe we might see a World War II thing later? Maybe?
I think it'll be on a new engine because DirectX 12,
but
whatever it is.
Oh, there's that too.
Some Frostbite 3 does support DirectX 12.
Yeah, because I think the devs have had DX12 source code for a while in order to be able to get some integration with.
I'm pretty sure they own it.
So
They own it.
Well,
no, own it, but they have a copy of it.
They have a copy of it, and they worked on it for a while now. I mean, remember the questions that like, does Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3 is gonna support DX12, and the dev said no because it's gonna take a while. But either way, I think it's safe to say they
might be something they could plug in
for a while. Yeah,
I don't think it's good. Battlefield 4 uses it, and I think
no, it won't.
If they do add it to Frostbite, then they're going to use it as an excuse to say it's Frostbite 4 and say, "Oh, look, shiny new engine."
No, the next Battlefield is going to use DirectX 12. Let's not fool ourselves. It's going to use DirectX 12.
Yeah,
I don't.
4 now.
I want to say that they might just keep Frostbite 3 because if you sit and you think about it, Frostbite 3 really was the one that hasn't been able to fully been able to stretch out. It's been held back by last gen hardware, so maybe it would be wise to let the next one let it stretch its wings. do some more graphical optimizations. Go back in, when you can, and restructure some of the coding for some of the stuff, and while you have the time, fix some of that stuff. I mean, I understand that going back into that kind of hierarchy can kind of break a lot of things and make a lot of things different and make it harder, but you got the time. Why not?
So changes are justifiable, right?
From my point of view, I talked to David a bit ago about something, and he said that since like CTE started, the amount of people playing Battlefield 4 actively has trended upwards, and he said it as if like it's still happening to this day. So you look at something like Hardline right now, and it's been trending downwards very fast, like surprisingly fast. Battlefield 4 is older, and it's trending upwards. So I think the changes that CTE is putting out there are completely justified because more people are playing. And I think they've intentionally made it so that they've intentionally set out to make more people play. And I think it works. That they're doing what they set out to do, and I think the game's better for it. I totally think it's justified.
I have to agree with that. I have to agree.
I don't think the people playing it. I don't think as many of them would be playing it if the changes weren't made. I think if there were no changes going on in Battlefield, then some people would have jumped off the wagon much earlier, and therefore wouldn't be around to complain.
Is it funny when? All right, go on.
I was going to just say, I mean, they could have just left it with Final Stand and then maybe done like one or two patch here and there, but then just like left it and not done anything.
Yeah.
But we the community is just, I think, really lucky to have the CTE.
Yeah, regardless of the amount of things that might happen in it that even we don't agree with, and
I mean,
for the most part,
God damn it.
Yeah, for the most part, CTE
crap.
is good, regardless of some of the things that could be honestly pinned and said that are bad. But at any rate,
yeah, but
the thing is, we need more people in order to test regularly, because that generates the opinions that are needed in order to enforce the opinion that this is a good thing, and this is what the community wants, and it's not just our opinions and the people that can scream the loudest.
I mean, just for any of the stuff that we were talking about recently, like the helicopter changes or the launcher changes or the tank changes, like all that stuff is being tested in like CTE right now. And if like you think, oh, it's terrible and you want to like try it, like I suggest try it, at least try it first before just claiming, oh, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah, be open-minded. That's what I'm
try. Yeah,
and definitely try out the tank shell changes for yourself. Definitely try those out. Give that a whirl. You might find it to be not as bad as what you'd think, because you might actually find that you've been naturally leading that much for the whole entire time when you've been playing this game and just been wondering why you're missing your shot.
Yeah, but anyway, back to my point. If you don't like something or if you love something, let the devs know. I mean.
No, they always know. Like every fucking every freaking nerf is. I mean, we'll always get presented with crying from others. It's just insane. I mean, some people even said like we have to bring back to the spring patch. Oh, we had to bring to the 2013 game because it was fine. I'm like, you what? It's just crazy. The stuff we read on Reddit on Balog is just crazy. It's just insane. I mean, like, really, do you want to go back to those previous changes that we had? No, you don't. Believe me. And you don't want to play the same broken game for 2 years or 3 years in this case. So
I can honestly say, like, if anybody would remember, like, how bad some of the stuff was, again, go back to launch, go back to. What was it, after Second Assault launched, and then go to after when, just remember the points of this game whenever DLC launched.
Yeah,
and the state of it then.
Let's go back to the patch where it broke everyone's sound. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah,
that was
the best one.
Oh, you really want to go back to that? Or when you die around the corners like every match? Yeah, you need that.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, I'm gonna end this with this topic. I mean, because I'm the only one that's actually was interested in that. So basically, a DICE dev from Stockholm that worked on Battlefield 3 single player and Battlefield 4 single player, did a stream, and he's doing a charity stream for 24 hours, and he did some Battlefield 4, and he played the Battlefield 3 single player from the start to all the way to the end, and he was just doing commentary on his own game, because he was the main guy that was doing the scripting, all the coding for the single players, both Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. And I'm gonna attach the link to the video in the description if you're really interested, because I found it quite interesting. If you really want to know how video games are being made and what was the purpose of the design and everything like that, how the game was made, it's quite interesting to watch. So if you're really interested, it's a long video though, so pick your choice, I guess, which part you want to listen. But he just went through his own created game, single player, and just commented, yeah, we did this, we did that, we couldn't do that, we wanted to do that, but because limitations or whatever. And it's just quite awesome. It's a quite awesome video. And he criticized his own work. I mean, that's what most artists do, let's be honest here. And one of the top criticism he gave for the game, for Battlefield 3 single player and Battlefield 4 single player, they was too linear. They found it cringeworthy that they actually made the single player. No matter what you think about the single player, but the actual dev that made the single player thinks it's too linear, and it's a bit cringy for him because, well, there's no story. Well, I mean, there's a story, but there was no gameplay. It was basically point, shoot, and move on, and you had no options. That's what I really were unhappy about the Battlefield 3 single player, and that's why Battlefield 4 became a bit more open, because it gave you the choices. Well, not ultimate choices, but it gave you more choices.
Yeah, I just remember Battlefield 3, the jet mission, which was basically just a QTE mission on rails or whatever.
He actually talked about that mission. They said originally they wanted to do, we were able to fly the jet, but because
dang it, that would have been awesome.
They really want to do that. Actually, they want to do before you start the mission.
That's why you have the Vulcan.
Yeah,
because
originally
the
they were
Vulcan
thinking you should be able to walk to that yourself, but they changed it because they want to make it a scene, and besides, it was really graphically demanding, that mission.
Yeah.
So they decided, you know what, we can't really do with the hardware we have, because Frostbite 2 also had its own limitations. We can say, oh yeah, Frostbite engine is really flexible, you could do all that stuff. No, it still had its own limitations. For example, there's no moving parts like the train. For example, the actual train, the first mission, or last mission, whatever you want to say it, the last mission, for example, how do you think the train moves? How do you think? Personally.
The train doesn't move, the level moves around it.
Yeah, that's how it works. The level around it moves on a repeated manner.
All this trick in the book.
Wow.
Unreal Tournament did that.
Yeah, so the train doesn't really move around in circle or something like that until you finish the mission. It just goes in an infinite way because the level itself moves, and that gives you an illusion that the train moves.
When you're in the tunnel crawling on the top of the train in the Battlefield 3 campaign there.
Yeah, everything around you, that's just this textured cylinder.
Yeah, it just, you see the same pipe.
It was a big scene at one point, but then they rendered it out and then just compressed it into a texture and then put it on a cylinder. Fun game development fact, kids.
No, it was quite awesome to listen, because I remember there was one mission that was we want to include 40 dudes here and a couple of bad guys because we want to do a proper assault mission. But again, low-end PCs and consoles, they had to cut the limitations. Oh, here's the thing, I forgot to mention that Battlefield 3, he said himself, Battlefield 3 originally was supposed to be a PC exclusive, like Battlefield 2. It wasn't planned to be released for the consoles. It wasn't planned. It was the Battlefield 2 route it was supposed to be a PC exclusive, and then EA probably comes in. EA happens, guys, okay, we have to release this for the consoles because we have to make money.
They ruined it.
So, but here's the thing, yeah. This is how I see it. I was already talking to Ray about this. Even though, all right, imagine Battlefield 3 as a PC exclusive, yeah? If it was a PC exclusive, there's a big chance I wouldn't care about the game, because I kind of started playing on consoles. there's a big chance I won't get.
Yeah, I'll be
Battlefield.
honest with you. I wouldn't be playing because I picked up Battlefield 3. I picked Battlefield back. I originally played Battlefield on console. Played Battlefield 2 on Xbox. The modern combat spin-off of it. But anyway, I played that, and then when I saw Battlefield 3 had a beta again on PS3, I was like, oh hell yeah! Downloaded it, and then I fell in love with Metro Rush. So, I mean, yeah, thank God it did, or else I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. But anyway, Dark, go be mad that it was held back by console, which I will wholeheartedly I will wholeheartedly agree with you that consoles in some way have held this game back, but
It's
not
true.
in the
It's true.
exact way that you want to complain about.
I would.
At the end of the day, it made Battlefield big.
It gave
If
it
it
a
wasn't-
big budget, it gave it a big sales region, it gave it a reason in
It
order to be a
ruined
lot
it.
bigger than what it is. Oh hush,
It
it made it a
ruined
bigger
Battlefield.
AAA title.
Battlefield.
Hey, for ruined Battlefield. And
Here's a-
now it's I captured aim assist in Battlefield. That's crazy talk.
So I just find it funny that Battlefield 3 was supposed to be a PC exclusive, like Battlefield 2.
Yeah, I
But
definitely want to watch that Dev's.
Yeah, I'll include the link as soon as he's gonna start streaming. He's still streaming. He's doing a 24-hour stream for charity.
as of
Fight
the time
against
he's
cancer.
recording.
Like it's against cancer charity. So yeah. So
So
it's,
wait, is a charity against cancer or is it
I mean-
against cancer charities?
Oh my
Cancer
God.
Sorry,
charities.
yeah, I'm going to hell for that.
You
but
get the
I had to do
idea.
it.
It's a charity that fights cancer. There you go. So if you want to know how the game works, how development happens in video games and all of that, it's quite interesting to listen. It like
It
It's
really
just-
is.
it's just-
Anything that kind of gives you an insight as to how game development really actually works, I encourage anybody in order to look that up, especially when it comes to like AAA development and stuff, because it's really not what everybody thinks it is. Like, there's no such thing as like there's a snap of the fingers and then poof, like this level is perfectly lit, or you click like 5 or 6 buttons and then like this animation works perfectly fine. It doesn't work that way. I've said it time and time again. Everything's a big hierarchy and everything's like a big stack of cards. But instead of building your card pyramid like a normal pyramid, you're building that card pyramid upside down. Now imagine trying to change a card out somewhere at the bottom of that pyramid after it's already built without screwing the whole thing up. It doesn't always happen. It's not always physically freaking possible. So, I mean, when it comes to like being patient with stuff, just be patient with game development. It's not an overnight process, guys.
yeah. I'm gonna say about the co-op thing because I forgot to mention the co-op part. The Battlefield 3 co-op was basically made by 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 dudes. They basically were locked in a small room at DICE offices. They had their own special thing. Nobody bothered them, and they haven't bothered the actual main DICE guys, the developers. And basically, that was the plan. I mean, they wanted to include co-op in the Battlefield 3, but they don't want to stop the actual development of Battlefield 3, actual single-player and multiplayer. So these guys, they had a plan. I mean, they had a job. You had like 6 or 7 months to do a co-op. If you won't finish it, it won't be included in the game. Is it? So they finished something, they did something, and it was included in the game. So I just kind of find it interesting, and all the little stuff. It's quite fun. And yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, and I think I said everything I want to say about that. I mean, it's awesome thing. I'm just going to include the link in the description, so whoever wants to watch it. It's
Go watch it! Do
It's quite
it
interesting.
now! And so we can stop talking about it.
Yeah, and the stories there. It's quite interesting. But I think that's kind of it on the podcast. And yeah, I think that's it. Unless somebody wants to mention about something really important. How's life?
No.
How's everything? How's
Everything's
wife and
fine.
kids?
Ends the video.
My podcast, I can end it
Put
whenever I
Dark
want.
down!
My podcast, I can end it whenever I want. If I want to go for 2 hours, I'll go for 2 hours. But anyway, so
Speaking too long.
okay. So nobody got anything? Nothing is happening in your lives?
Nope, other than good
Everything's
night.
depressing. Things
Okay.
aren't great right now. Don't
No?
ask.
You all making me depressed. But anyway, okay, thank you guys for listening. Whoever actually stays till the end and watches our podcast or even listens on your phone or whatever. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that.
We
I
love
mean,
you
it's
guys.
really important. Yeah, we love you guys.
Give
We love
yourself
you
a
guys.
hug, too. Go look in the mirror. Look at you. Look at you. You're a beautiful person. Yeah. You should give yourself a hug. But not right now. Not while you're listening to us. Kind of weird.
No homo. Or if you're a girl, cool. But anyway, but cool. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it, and we're gonna see you on the next one. And that's kind of it. So bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.